fucking up shots.
He had to head out. I saw.
No, we in there now. We might as well get the ball rolling. You love fucking up shots. We just gonna use this in there.
Take two then.
No, I want V House to know you fuck up shots. So, no. Hold on. I said when the camera on you.
Alright. Ooh, what it do? It's your boy Jerrell Smith, aka the Viking, aka Smitty Ray, aka Baking Cookies with your mom. Today we got a special guest in the building, Mr. Lewandowski, man. What's going on, man? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Man, living life, man. Blessed, highly favored to be living again. So what's going on with you, man?
You know, currently the principal at St. Francis High School, St. Francis, a little suburb outside of Milwaukee. Also just recently named a superintendent on an intern basis. So
Kudos. You put a lot of hard work, man.
some big things, but you know, it's all good.
Man, I definitely see the happiness in you, you know what I'm saying? I see the spirit, you know what I'm saying?
How old are you?
Yeah.
How old are you? Because I was like,
45.
oh yeah.
45.
Wow, you was young.
Yeah.
He was young, you got to teach him.
Oh man, strong. Yeah, I dig it. Okay.
Yeah. So we got a lot of things to talk about today. A couple things that you didn't know about me. I'm gonna ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
We are going to get deep for all the V House people, you know. So just be aware, you know. So be coming raw, live cut in effect. So you know, question: how is fatherhood? I see you having a good time with your daughter. You're glowing and everything, and I see the special bond. How's that been for you?
Yeah, man. You know, for me, blood is everything. You know what I mean? Like that's where I start and that's where I end. That's how I was raised. So, you know, my little girl gonna be turning 18 in a couple of weeks. She's going to college. She went to the high school that I was a principal at. So, got to watch her grow up. She was a stud volleyball player. You know, as we had talked about a little bit earlier from me coaching, you know, that was kind of, she didn't really have much of a choice.
Right.
But she's 5'11". She's 7th in her class. You know, good kid, super proud dad. And at the end of the day, you know, whatever she chooses to do, you know, ride or die. That's my little one. So. Got her name tattooed on me. That's how we get down.
A question now that you going into that. How was the dynamic and how was you mentally able to separate the dad from the coach? You know,
It was tough. It was tough.
Right.
You know, I started her at a young age. I think at like 7 or 8 years old, we started messing around with a volleyball. Tried to figure out what sport she was going to play. She's tried lots of different things. She also is an amazing singer. So she always had a talent that way. She's actually going into college. One of her majors is going to be in theater music.
Okay.
So, you know, it's tough. It's tough because I'm tough. I'm tough as a coach. I'm hard. You know, just because I nothing is worse than wasted potential. You know, I've said that 1 trillion times, and that was for sure going to be the case with my kids. So I think there were times she hated my guts, you know, and there were times that, you know, she loved the attention. So some of my favorite memories are always going to be those Saturdays when, you know, we're getting in the car at 5:30 and I'm making a bed for her to lay down in the back seat, and we're driving to some town for a tournament. You know what I mean? So. There were those, and then there were times when, you know, because I'm her dad and I'm chewing her out, she wanted to look at me and say, "Dad, just knock it off. I'm not your dad, I'm your coach." You know, but I told you. Yeah. So that can be difficult, but I think with all my coaching, you know, I've always been tough on my athletes, but they know it's because I love them, and I want to see them be successful. And I think, you know, with this generation of kids, and even with your generation, there were so many adults that didn't have faith in our kids. It didn't see the potential. It just said those kids don't care. And it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of somebody has to take enough care and initiative to push them and watch them go to the next level and be able to do that while also having those kids know that you care about them. Right? I can rip you up and down, but if you know I'm doing it because I love you, then it's easy to do.
Okay, with that being said, you say you were a coach, right? And if y'all don't know, this is an old teacher from the alma mater, V House, 05. Class of 05 in the building, you know what I'm saying? V House. But also being a coach, you say you did volleyball and you coached baseball as well. Did you play any sports back in your day?
Yeah, I was a 3-sport college scholarship offered athlete for baseball, basketball, and football.
Oh, so. The 3 major ones thought I paid good money.
And I was, I'm a North Side kid. You know what I mean? I went to Milwaukee, Madison. Okay. So, I grew up on 91st Mill Road. So,
Madhouse.
when I played at the Madhouse, I was the only white dude on the whole program.
Oh, okay.
So it was me and 44 black guys. You know what I mean? Wow. So I think that shaped my experience too. That's the reason why. Honest to truth, I just feel more comfortable around people of color than I do around all white people. So, because that was my experience. That's where I grew up. So, playing with high-level athletes at Madison helped me understand what potential kids could have.
Madison, you speak of Madison, y'all. Very interesting story. We used to leave our school and go to Madison and terrorize their girls, driving their traffic and try to pick up their women. You know what I'm saying? Talking smack to them. But it's all good. Speaking of Madison. I don't know if you knew this, but Chris Griffin actually graduated from Madison. Now, people that don't know, Chris Griffin died suddenly from heart complications, and he was a big person, a father figure to many, a role model to a lot, also the leading girls coach in the city. And he left a big impact. So how was him in his timely death? How did that affect you?
Yeah, that was tough. And I knew Nicole. Nicole was actually going to come play volleyball for me. Griff and I had that conversation. Griff was such a big presence. He was such a big dude.
Yeah.
To have him, just kind of taken out of your everyday experience, that's tough. That's we always had a lot of loss at Vincent. Right. I mean, if it wasn't an adult, it was students or, that was one of the things that you just, unfortunately, you had to deal with more than you should have to.
Right.
People leaving your life earlier than you expect. He had a great family. So that's, it's one of those things I think we were able to rally around. We know what Griff would want us to do, so that's just what we did. You buckle up and you get after it.
Yeah, Griff was definitely, like I said, he was a staple, not just in Vincent, but personality-wise, and the way he cared for the kids. It wasn't on him; it was in him.
Yep.
So I think I slipped up a couple of times and actually called him dad. He left that impact on a lot of people. A lot of people our generation, we didn't have the father figures around. We had one parent. It wasn't common to have both parents. Either you had one or the other, or grandma was there. So I didn't like to skip school because I was losing that life lesson that I would have learned from a father. So I would work to go to school, and a lot of administrators there that care for people. Shout out to Polk. Shout out to Diener. Diener was a good one. And like I said, Griff as well. But sorry to get too personal and deep, and also Jones. How was that loss for you? Because I know that greatly affected me as well. So
yeah, it's again, it was too commonplace. So I had a lot of very good friends there. I was at Vincent for quite some time. You get tight with people. You spend more time at school than I did with my own family. Right. So, and when I became, sort of an administrator in the building, I worked with the security guys very closely. Yeah. So, you get real tight with them dudes. You have lunch with them, you hang out with them, and then it's, it's a tough loss. Yeah. People we gotta take care of each other, and we gotta take care of ourselves.
Speaking of losses, a major loss for class of 05 with people that don't know was when Roland, light-skinned guy. He's full of life. He was like the person that you want to say hi to every day. He was going to be going to the military after high school. Unfortunately, wrong place at the wrong time. He was running from gunfire and he didn't make it. So it is definitely traumatizing to when the good ones they end up leaving first. you be wondering why the ones that's bad, why they're not going, and the good ones that actually made a difference.
Roland was changing.
I mean, yeah, he was changing. He was changing, but his personality, you know what I'm saying? He always had that smile to him. You know, he didn't never had no negative energy. You know.
I guess the thing was, there's a lot of good guys in the streets. Because Roland was a good guy, but he was still in his environment.
Yeah, that's, you know, and sometimes you are a product of your environment.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the case may be. You know.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, now moving on. There's some things that I'm pretty sure Lewandowski doesn't know about me. I'm going to explain that to you and the viewers, and I'm pretty sure there's some things that we don't know about you. You know, especially some things that were going behind the scenes. You know, that kind of affected you or impacted you in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to start off first, and I don't know if you knew that I was a teacher and a student at the same time. So, you know, I love to tell that story because I am the Viking, and the Vikings is our logo. There's only one me. That's why I am the Viking. And me and Miss Erkins had a deal that they kept cutting the music program out.
Right.
You know, so at that time, we didn't have no program. Well, a couple of us just kept beating on this set. We split the set up to a snare, cymbals, and drums. Eventually, we was like, we want to take this farther. So we ended up getting our name together, playing at a lot of nursing homes and like Black History program events, pep rallies and stuff like that. So over time, Miss Erkins went at that energy for the basketball team because our basketball team was doing good, but we were missing something in the end. So she came to me and said, you willing to make the class with Griff was the actual, he was like the teacher.
Sure.
But
Teacher of record.
yeah,
right?
yeah, the teacher, you know, but I was still like giving out grades, and I was still, I still had that power, you know. I can fail you at the drop of a dime, you know. So what we did was we demanded so much because we brought so much to the athletic program, football, basketball, all the pep rallies and stuff like that. We made a big difference. And 1 year, I think it was 2004. I know. Kelly Kale, shout out Kelly Kale doing her thing, the comedian. Kelly Kale was the cheerleader, the head cheerleader in 2004, and we ended up going upstate. And we were so much of an impacting necessity to the school, I demanded Ms. Erkin get us a coach bus. Just like the players.
Right, I remember that.
And so she ended up getting us a coach bus, and the cheerleaders were mad because they were actually on the school bus.
The yellow bus, right?
Yeah, you know, so I definitely put in a lot of work, and I made things happen behind the scenes that everybody don't know. We built the studio in there. We got to doing music. Shout out to Business Boy, man, Dre. He's a Grammy-nominated producer. He was a quiet type, but we got to start doing music in the school. People was noticing, and we built a lot of relationships. And I brought my equipment into the school. The security guards would go in the room and play their music after school because we was shaking their booth by the front door. Come in one day, all the stuff was blown. All the speakers, amps, you know, they didn't blow it out. You know, I was so pissed, but you know, it's a learning experience. You know, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, not a lot of people are able to say that they can be a student and a teacher while at school. You know, so enough about me. Give us some of the backstory that people don't know that was behind the scenes that may have shaped you.
So I filled in the administrator role at Vincent for 3 years.
Okay.
I was never officially hired as an administrator, so I was a teacher, getting teacher salary, but I did the administrator role there for 3 years.
Wow.
When I came, I initially started my career at Mesper.
Okay.
And I was ready to get out of education. I was done. Like, I hated that place so much. And I reached out to Ms. Erkins and I said, "Hey, I'll come do whatever you want me to clean the floors. I'll mop the floors. Whatever I gotta get out of here." So I went over there and I taught Read 180.
Okay.
I taught algebra in 2 sections of civics. Okay. And I'm only certified in social studies at that time.
Oh.
So I was going to be willing to do whatever it took to get back in Vincent because I did my student teaching there. Okay. We started the advanced placement program there. That had disappeared. We started that back up again. I'd never planned to coach volleyball. I had played, but I didn't plan to coach. And Miss Erkins came to me and said, I heard you play volleyball. And I said, I do. She said, so you want to coach volleyball?
Right.
No, I don't. She said, you want to coach volleyball?
Asked you again, so she was hanging.
I don't really want to. So you're going to coach volleyball?
Right.
Okay, I'm coaching volleyball. And that was one of my favorite experiences. I mean, all those girls that played for me, I still talk to them. Like you talked about with Griff, a lot of them girls, they call me dad. That's the kind of relationship that I had with them, and I was tough. I mean, I was really tough on them girls, but Denisha Smith, Nene. I talked to Nene. I talk to her once a month. We still talk. She's out in California. I would go pick her up from her house and make sure she got to practice on time. All the behind scenes with that kind of stuff, where you build up pride in kids that just don't have it. They don't know what they don't know. One of my favorite parts about working in the city was I knew that I could have that influential role. I could be that father figure. I knew them kids needed me. Versus I could go work at Arrowhead. The kids don't need me for nothing. When I left Vincent and I went to Menominee Falls, I was not happy because it was all a bunch of white kids that were coming from wealthy families, and they didn't need me for anything. So that's when I decided, it's time I got to get back to being more urban with what I do. So it didn't end very well with MPS. I asked them to make me a full-time administrator, and they basically told me that at the time they had a program for people that were not of color, that they needed to go through a program to understand how to work with people of color. And I said, I'm an MPS dude. I've been a minority my whole high school, my whole grade school, middle school, high school life. I worked at Vincent. I know how to work with at the time. I know how to work with black people. Like, what are y'all talking about? And they basically said, that's the only way you'll ever get a job here, being an administrator. So I went and I offered, I put out resumes and applied for jobs. I had 3 different offers from 3 different schools. I still came back, said, I don't want to go. This is where I want to be. Just pay me what I'm supposed to be getting paid. They told me kick rocks. So I kicked rocks.
And you left. Speaking of MPS doing shady business, another thing you might not know is after I graduated, I offered to teach drumline for free at Vincent for about 3 to 5 years straight. At the time, that's what I wanted to do. That's where my heart was, and seeing kids use their talents, especially musically, and especially how Griff was to me. I wanted to be that influence to be like, this can change another person's life. Maybe they want to take this further, learn how to actually read music and go to college, get a scholarship for it, and who knows, you can get any degree you want, and then the sky is limitless for you. So I definitely understand MPS and some of their quote unquote weird practices. So alright, moving on, a couple of events that happened during the school year that I went to, I want to ask you about and see where you were at the time. Number one, starting with 9/11. Were you at Vincent in 9/11?
I was.
Okay.
I was.
And what floor were you on?
Second floor.
The second floor? Okay. I'm assuming you had juniors and seniors?
Sophomores.
Yeah, sophomores.
Sophomores. I taught advanced placement world history.
Okay.
Pre-advanced placement world history.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough day. Yeah. It's a tough thing to explain to people. That's a hard. You can't. It's one of those moments as an educator when you can't process it, and then you're trying to explain to kids how to process it. It's you just put on a brave face. I mean that's essentially what your job is to look like you're composed and try to get through it.
Yeah, it was definitely devastating. I think I was in Gardner class and he was downstairs, and I don't want to say science room, but it was across the hall from where the aquarium was. And watching them planes hit, because at that moment you don't know really what's going on. It's just that you can see cameras on the plane and they following it, then out of nowhere it hit the buildings. And you know, the aftermath of watching people jump from the buildings just to rather take their own life than have somebody else take their life, you know, it was definitely devastating at a young age. There was also reality that nobody's promised tomorrow.
Right.
You know, so
sure.
you got to live it up to the fullest and enjoy life. Yeah. You know, so moving on to the next event now. To the students, it was a good day. I don't know how it was for the faculty. Do you remember the blackout?
Yes.
If y'all do not know the blackout, that's when the entire power in the whole school shut out and you had to fend for yourself. Pretty much, it turned into a jail riot, but in a school.
Yep.
You know, so.
And that basement was, I mean, it was a war zone down in that basement. So.
There was several riots that month, wasn't it?
Yeah, the basement was rough.
So tell me, where were you at during the blackout and what did you experience?
So I was an administrator at that time.
Okay.
Well, I was playing administrator on TV, right? You know, I think our goal was to just try to keep as much sanity as possible, right? Like keep everybody as calm as possible. Right. You know, the V was one of them those places that when it went up, it went up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the kids would be like, "It's lit," and be like, "Man, no, it's crazy as hell right here." Right. You know, it was. That was one of them times. I mean, there were multiple events like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, things that you guys probably don't even know. We had parents that broke in the band door and fought the whole administrative team. Like we were throwing hands.
Yeah. For real?
For real. Yeah. There was a fight in the cafeteria.
Okay.
Between a boy and a girl, and the boy knocked the girl out, and her people came up, and they got in the back door, and we went up there to stop them, and they punched one of the administrators and knocked him out, and then we just started throwing hands. It was just a full-on fight.
Like a bar fight, but
yeah, it was crazy.
All the teachers was cool at Vincent.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, the last day of school, every last day of school, there was a huge fight. Like every last day of school, by the buses. Yeah. Everybody got to settle up before they go home.
That's all it is. It's like I've been holding this in all this year. Before I leave the school year, we got to get it in and settle it.
Last day of school, we're like, okay, here we go. Like, yeah, I had to find a dry cleaner that could get blood out of my dress shirts because I broke up so many fights.
Was that much chaos?
I mean, one after another.
Wow. But a blackout, I think what I remember was, especially downstairs, kids having sex.
Yeah, we did bust somebody in the hallway doing that. Stairwell.
A lot of looting and polluting. I'm not sure smoking, you know, but I don't put that past anybody at V.
Oh, that happened.
Do you remember the ambush? You remember the ambush? Where all the teachers and the administrators ambushed all the kids that was kicking it outside?
No.
Yeah.
What was it, by the student parking lot?
It was everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
All the teachers, all the principals, everyone just came out of all doors and just.
Yeah. I don't remember that, but what I do remember.
You wasn't in it.
I don't know where was I at, but I know what I do remember. Look,
he was a good kid.
I wasn't so innocent. We got some other stories to tell y'all, but I wasn't so innocent. But what I do remember was, I started in the basement. I worked my way up to the gym. And then the gym is where, if I'm not mistaken, where Mr. Carr was punched. And that was the blow that ended his career, because I think he ended up either retiring after that or he ended up going to a different school.
He left.
Not too long ago.
He left and went to a suburban school somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate, you know, but needless to say, we were good kids when it came to sports, certain academics, but when the hood came out, the hood came out. You know,
we were just professional rioters.
But we had it down to a science.
We was great rioters.
Right. You know, it was just extremely crazy. But moving on, talking about chaos and fighting and all that stuff. Now, I got wind of the video of the kid fighting back Jones. How does that make you feel?
So I was going by it already.
Okay.
You know, the crazy part about MPS is they put so many restrictions on the people that work there. That's what leads to that chaos, right? Like when you don't have expectations and rules around behavior and how people should act. You know, like we talked about earlier. If you set the expectation, and I believe that you got, you know, all my kids can meet this expectation. They'll meet that expectation. But when you say the bar is so low because I don't believe you can meet anything higher than that, that's where it goes, right? Like it's lowest common denominator. And they set they set the people up. You know, and Jones got set up. Like he can't defend himself, he can't fight back. And when people don't have a respect for any of that kind of authority or adults, you know, and you go swing off on somebody, just be lucky it wasn't me. Right. Because I lost my job that day.
Yeah, it was very heartbreaking to watch, but then that contests to how the generation of kids have evolved. You know, he literally was fighting Jones because Jones told him to get to class. Right. You know, he was already late and just skipping in the halls. But how does the transitions from generations, what do you see now from what they used to be when we were back in school?
So I've been, we always talk about when I worked at Vincent, like that was the Marines.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like now it's, where I work now, it's nothing like that. We are, I have zero tolerance for violence because of my experience at Vincent, because the kids that want to come to school and learn can't do it because there's a fight happening 5 times a day. You so focused on survival, how am I going to ask you to think critically? Right. So, you know, my school doesn't have that kind of problem. There's just not that level of issue. But, you know, I think there's a different work ethic in this generation. I think what you're seeing at times, you know, there's this kind of refocus on I got to take care of my own needs before I push myself further. And I don't know if that's good or bad, you know, because there's times when I really wish kids will work harder and push themselves beyond what they consider to be their limits, because their limits are further than what they think they are. But I think when I worked at Vincent, it was just a different kind of relationship with kids. You know what I mean? Like I got along with everybody, with all the kids that went to school there, even the bad kids. The bad kids, right? The kids that were into stuff that they knew they shouldn't have been into. We have mutual respect for each other because I kept it 100, they kept it 100. We knew where we stood. I think that's the difference now. Is there's just a lack of trust and a lack of work ethic at times, and that leads to, you know, a difficult environment to try to run places, try to run schools.
Yeah, speaking of keep it 100, you know, coming towards the conclusion of the interview, I want to keep it 100 myself and let you know a couple things that were going on, you know, also in the drumline. Number one, I talked this about a lot, I was actually bullied emotionally in school. And come to find out that while I was teaching the drumline and the deal that me and Erkins had, I was going to start teaching my bully. I was going to tutor him. Marcus Landry, you tall, lanky motherfucker. Dog, shout out to Marcus Landry. You know, he's a great ball player. He did a lot of things for the NBA. Him and his brother was a good duo when they was playing against each other. What he did overseas, he's doing great over there. Yeah, Marcus Landry was one of the ones that wanted to rib you until, you know what I'm saying, until it broke you down. You know what I'm saying? And that was me, you know, but when I was able to, when I literally had to tutor him because he couldn't take any language classes because he wasn't comprehending it right. So the next best class for him that would have been easier for him to pass was the drumline because it turned into an elective. It was an actual study, you know, so I had fun with that one. You know, I definitely feel like that the world came in full circle, came back around, you know, and salute to Marcus and shout out to Carl as well and the whole family. They all talented, athletic wise. You know, they all smart and everything. And I think that what Marcus did for me kind of made me a stronger man early. You know, I was able to deal with it and not react on impulse and do anything negative, but just sit back and wait for the right moment to be like, you know, now you was talking shit about me. Now I can talk shit about you, but I'm not going to because I'm prideful, but I'm going to help you out. But just know that I'm one up on you. You know what I'm saying? So that was the thing. Another thing was before the drum line actually got started and everything, I was funding all the equipment for a drum line. You know, I ain't got no money. I'm a high school student. You know, at that time, it was only one job that you can work, either during the summer or being a paper boy. You know, them were like the only two jobs. You know, and a lot of us brought the hood to the school, which was hustling. You know, and I used to do a little package deal with the cakes and juices and the sodas, you know, and the chips. You know, I used to sell them in between classes because after the lunch cutout, it's pretty much you ain't got nothing else. You know, I used to sell the Kool-Aid too. I used to sell the Kool-Aid with the sugar. When you look at somebody's hand and they got the dye on it, you know that they been dibbling dabbling in the Kool-Aid. I had dime bags, I had quarter bags, and I had dollar bags. I was hustling. Then I did it smart. I started getting invisible Kool-Aid. So you couldn't see it. It still tastes like Kool-Aid, but it was clear, you know what I'm saying? So you couldn't see it, you know. So what I ended up having to do was I have to hustle paraphernalia in school to get the equipment for the drum line. You know, I'm not proud of it. I was young, and I came to a point to where money has to come in some way, and currently we're not getting the funding from NPS because it's always a certain hula hoop you got to jump through, a lot of forms and everything. It has to be cleared by this person, this person, this person, this person. In the end, people don't see your vision that you're trying to get to, and they'll be like, it can just take one person to be like, no, denied, and then everything goes to shit, you know. So I definitely salute you, and like I said, salute all the other administrators. Definitely Polk is still at Vincent, I know for sure, you know. Shout out to everybody else, RP, the Jones and Griff, and everybody that we lost, but it was a tight family there. You know, we all came from different backgrounds. When we went there, V-House was like a family.
Right,
you know?
For sure.
I was the type, I didn't want to miss school because it was cracking at school, you know. So what's the point of skipping just to do something that's going to end you up in a bad place? You can go to school, learn something, you know, probably meet somebody that you never met before, and it can turn up at any given time, you know what I'm saying, as long as you be there. So we want to shout out to all the sponsors. You see the sponsorship right here, Savage Wear. Shout out to Brandon Allen with the Savage gear. You know, this is the latest one that he made right here. We got all different sizes coming up. This is actually, he called it the Cleveland colors. You know, the Cleveland Cavalier colors, but I say this is Vincent colors. Right, you know, we sticking with that. You know, so we got merch available for you. You can go to myroarapparel.com, put in the code JS11, get your merch, get a discount on me. You know what I'm saying? Your boy the Viking. You know, we got more to come. Be waiting for the website coming out. So once again, I want to thank you, Lou and Dustin, for the interview. You know,
absolutely,
it's been real. You know, I guarantee there might be more events coming. Y'all just stay tuned and watch. So it's your boy Jerrell Smith, aka the Viking, aka Smitty Ray, aka Mission Straight Up, aka Baking Cookies with your mama, with my man Lewandowski, and we gonna do it for the V, baby. All right, we out this joint. Deuce.
They don't know about us. Meals art. We gon' do it for the V. Ha. See, the first time we linked up, I told myself I gotta keep up. It don't matter the equation. Hood side to side, we equal. See, I'll be your saxophone. You falling back and be Lisa.